45 seconds or so, we will start our wonderful episode number 25.
Yay. We always yay after the.
Yeah. What's the weather like there today outside of Atlanta?
It's nice. It's not super hot yet. We're looking at a high of like 60, 70, high of 70, a little rainy, but just spotty rain, nothing, too major. So a nice day, moderate.
We have beautiful 82 sunshine and blue skies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then
you're
Monday, 46.
What part of Columbus?
No, we're in Toledo.
We're in Toledo.
Toledo. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
but
How far
Monday
is
is
that?
from Columbus. What, 2
Yeah.
hours? About 2
Is it?
hours to
Yeah.
Columbus.
Gotcha.
We're close to the Michigan border.
Yep.
Now, did I see you at Maho last year, Claudia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I learned
Awesome.
about your product. We ordered it right at the booth.
Are you going this
Yeah.
year?
Yes, we'll be there this year. So we're excited about that.
Well, there's a good chance you might run into us because we could be
Okay.
Well, I'm going. Denny might go.
maybe.
But
Okay, good.
yeah.
Awesome.
I might need some natural products to go to Columbus. I'm born and raised in Michigan and a huge Michigan fan. So I've only been to Columbus a couple of times, and I got hives and all kind of weird things happen to me when I'm near that stadium. So, but that's a whole nother podcast.
No, I
All right,
get
here
you.
we go.
No.
Let's start it.
Oh, Lord, you're funny.
Good Health by Claudia podcast with me, Denny Schaefer, a production of Denny Radio. It's episode 25. Yay! All right, before we get started, to introduce our guest, the information contained in these podcasts is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or health condition. Please consult a qualified healthcare professional if you do have a medical condition. The FDA has not evaluated the information on this podcast, which represents the opinions of the hosts or the guests. And speaking of guests, let's welcome Dr. J. Wilkins, ND. Dr. J, I loved watching you play basketball growing up. You're not as tan as I was expecting, but of course that's a joke, Dr. J. Welcome today.
Yeah, thanks. I had to trim down the afro, and my moves aren't near as good as they used to be. So,
and you're probably not tired of hearing that. Someone's here, oh, Dr. J. I mean, has anybody ever asked you, like, seriously, says, no, you're not the guy who plays basketball, are you?
I don't think they ever have seriously. I get a lot of jokes, but I'm pretty sure not seriously.
All right, today we're going to talk about the benefits of nitric oxide and the wonderful products that Dr. J has created in his company. First off, you've been in the health and wellness industry. Well, you're in for 30 years. You operated a fully staffed wellness center from 1993 to 2005. What happened in 2005 that drastically changed your life and the direction?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, because that was a really pivotal time in my career. As you just alluded to and brought out, that I've had a naturopathic practice, and we were seeing people and using all sorts of different programs, and I feel helping a lot of people. But when in 2005, I learned about this miracle molecule, nitric oxide. I had actually a remote office in Birmingham, Alabama, and where I was practicing there, they had this brochure, and it had this technology that could non-invasive, and it could show people what their cardiovascular status was. And then they had this product, this protocol of nutrients that helped to boost this thing called nitric oxide. And honestly, I was like, nitric oxide, what is that all about? And turns out it won the Nobel Prize in Medicine, and it all facilitated, it was precursors of natural things that boosted it. So I was like, wow, this is something that I need to understand. And I just really sunk my teeth into it, implemented the nutrients into my practice, saw phenomenal results. The research was compelling. And so it 6 months later, I actually sold my practice just so I could get fully engrossed in this type of a nutrition, became the medical advisor of the company I was with at the time, learned from some real masters in this whole nitric oxide movement. And I guess, as they say, the rest is history.
All right, I want to remind people that are watching, if you have any questions, just type your questions in the comment section. Claudia and I will see them, and we'll ask the questions. All right. What is pulse wave analysis?
So that was the thing that I saw in that brochure, and it's a non-invasive device. At the time, we were working with Class 2 medical devices, and I was working actually with some medical practitioners, and it was a billable insurance type of a thing. And again, non-invasive, just fits on your finger, and it measures pulse waves. And there's 7 different possibilities of pulse waves it measures. Class 1 is the best case scenario. That indicates that the arteries are healthy and flexible and everything is flowing properly. To where 7 is the worst case scenario, which indicates that there's potential blockages and congestion and poor blood flow and stiffness in the arteries. And so that's what it measures. The cool thing about it that I loved is that you can do a true show and tell. You can do a screening. You could put people on the natural nitric oxide boosting interventions, rescreen 90 days later, and 90% of the time, if they'll follow the program, they'll test better. So I love that. I love the way of testing, doing interventions, and then rescreening to prove. So not only are people feeling better and their blood work looking better, and all these great healthy side effects, but you can actually measure to see that they are getting better.
So when I was looking over the information, I had to look up nitric oxide. I mean, everybody knows nitrous oxide from going to the dentist. Isn't that laughing gas? And I'm like, whoa, sign me up for the laughing gas. This guy's got laughing gas. I want some of that for the weekend.
Right.
What is nitric oxide and how does our body produce it?
So it's a simple molecule. It's just 1 part nitrogen, 1 part oxygen. It's actually a gas. So like nitrous oxide, it is a gas, but it differs in how it operates in the body. It is what's called a signaling molecule. So it signals your body to do all these fantastic things. One of the things it signals your body to do is for your arteries to relax and open. So right away, we see tremendous benefits in the field of anything related to cardiovascular, including blood pressure and all those things. But again, it's not something that you take. I mean, you can take it. They administered nitric oxide gas to COVID patients to help them to open up breathing and blood flow. It's antiviral and all the great things you'd want if you had COVID. But essentially, it's something your body makes. So that's why I call it your body's best medicine, because all the things that your body makes are the things that are best for your body. Your body's own hormones, your body's own nitric oxide, your body's own antioxidants, your body's own enzymes, hormones. All those things, are the best things. So that's what nitric oxide does. It essentially, again, first of all, the Nobel Prize was given for its benefits within the cardiovascular field. But turns out it's way more than just for benefiting your cardiovascular system.
So I remember when I first learned about nitric oxide, whatever it was, several years ago, and it was very interesting to me. I figured it was like ATP produced in the cell, but when I learned it's produced by the immune system and the macrophages, that was really amazing to me. So how about if we do a simple understanding of what a macrophage is and why is it producing the nitric oxide? Because I'm thinking it's going to be in the cell, but apparently it isn't.
Yeah, so macrophages are awesome things that our body, it's translated big eater. That's what macrophage means.
Yes.
So it's these big immune cells that gobble up bad guys, whether it be parasites or cancer cells or whatever. But what's cool within the nitric oxide story with T cells, B cells, macrophage activity is that these immune cells, they use nitric oxide to fuel themselves so they can get around, but then they also use it like a laser beam to shoot down the bad guys and basically blow them up. So that's how nitric oxide is used within the immune system.
It's really quite amazing. The body is the most miraculous machine that we have. I mean, it's quite amazing. And my prayer is always that Western medicine begins to honor it. But that's another story. But where we're at, so I just want to say it's funny because I got thinking about this, getting ready for the podcast. Years ago, when I worked at a wonderful health food store, I talk about Bassett's all the time because they were 55 years in business. And anyway, we had a juice bar and we did a lot of juicing, and people would always get, carrot and celery and beet juice. And we'd encourage people to eat beets because they support the liver, all those things. But it's interesting in thinking back on it, the people that did beets every day eventually would start coming in and saying, man, I have all this wonderful energy. I feel better. And so we were seeing it back then, but it's cool that now we understand how it's working.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, before I think we understood about betaine in beets and how important it was for your liver and boosting blood and iron
Yes.
and all that. But yeah, come to find out, then there's this whole other story that we don't understand until this research comes out about nitric oxide. So one of the real things within beets that makes it a superfood is its nitrate levels. Nitrates convert into nitric oxide in your digestive system. So yeah, there's all kinds of studies for beets and blood pressure and for endurance and stamina and athletics. So yeah, it's really cool how all these things that we know are good, eventually the science comes out that shows
Yes.
why it's so
Yeah.
good, right?
I always say those of us in health food stores, going back many years, we were seeing what all these things were doing, but now science is really showing how it all works. So it's quite amazing. But I do two things. First of all, let's talk about the importance of widening the arterial function, because this is a really, really important point. So if you talk about that for a moment.
It is a number one. I mean, it's the number one important point as far as statistically, the number one reason people die is heart attacks.
Mhm.
So, over 600,000 die every year. As women go through menopause, they equal men. 12-year-olds, 70% of them already have fatty streaks developing in their
Yes.
arteries. So it is a major deal, and it's something that we need to appreciate and get ahead of. So nitric oxide is the key when it comes to arterial health. And again, as mentioned before, one of the things that nitric oxide does is it relaxes the blood vessel, allows the blood to flow better.
Yes.
Dr. John Cook called nitric oxide the cardiovascular cure. He is the head of cardiovascular research at Stanford. Dr. Ignaro, one of the Nobel Prize winners, has a book called No More Heart Disease, NO for nitric oxide, No More Heart Disease. So it's critical. Basically, the word picture that Dr. John Cook gives is that when your arteries, the inside of your arteries called the endothelium, and it's maybe sort of a big word, but man, when it comes to the importance for your arteries and your cardiovascular system, your endothelium is so critical. And he said when your endothelium is healthy, then it's like Teflon. Everything slides through and nothing sticks to it. When it
Right.
becomes dysfunctional, then it becomes like Velcro. And that's where you get all these things, the
Accumulating.
cholesterol, the white
Yes.
blood cells, all this heavy metals, all these things tend to get trapped within the endothelium. And when you're in, the thing is about the endothelium, that's where you produce the nitric oxide. So you need nitric oxide to keep your endothelium healthy. Then when your endothelium becomes diseased, your nitric oxide production wanes. So it's really important that that balance between the endothelium and your nitric oxide levels remains optimal.
So Claudia brought some products. Before we talk about those, I want to say hello to Suzanne and Dot, and especially Amy. They're watching right now. And Amy has a testimony that I think you guys are going to want to hear. She says, my husband has had problems with his blood pressure to the point where his doctor wanted to put him on a blood pressure pill. She says, my husband and I refused the pharmaceutical way, and Claudia started my husband on your product about a month ago, and my husband's blood pressure changed tremendously.
Yes.
We're so grateful for Claudia for introducing us to the awesome products. And I'm telling everyone in all caps, so she's yelling, that have blood pressure problems, go to Claudia's for Dr. J's products.
So-
That's got to make you feel good.
Thank you, Amy, for sharing that, because we had done a lot of things, the typical, we have a lot of wonderful formulations for high blood pressure and, or to support proper vascular health. We could not, his blood pressure wouldn't move. And when we put him on this, it was amazing in a very, very short time. Amy, thank you for saying that, because it was amazing to really witness.
So what are we looking at here? This is the M3 Ultimate Nitric Oxide Nutrition.
So this is the powder. So that's what now I noticed yesterday in the new, we just got we order a lot of this. Here's the new label.
Put that up closer, Claudia.
This is the new label. So on the shelf, you'll see both of these labels, but
same product.
Same product.
Okay.
Yeah. So tell us about the powder. There's beets in here, but there's other things. So what else do you have in here?
So this is primarily a arginine-based nitric oxide pathway product, and your body essentially from nutraceuticals creates nitric oxide from arginine and citrulline.
Yes.
And then also from nitrates and beets. So this formula is what we call our most therapeutic nitric oxide boosting product, in that it uses the right amounts of these precursors, the arginine and the citrulline specifically. It takes a lot for it to be a therapeutic. You need really over the 5 grams of arginine. We use arginine AKG, which is an alpha ketoglutarate, which absorbs much better than the other forms of arginine. We couple it with citrulline, over 2,000 milligrams of citrulline. A lot of products out there use 200 milligrams, or maybe they don't include it at all, but those are like Batman and Robin. And what they do, when you do them in the right amounts, according to Dr. Boger, Rainier Boger, he showed and demonstrated that when you combine those in the right amounts together, you get a much better sustained release. So we're able to get a 24-hour release of nitric oxide when people will take that ultimate nitric oxide nutrition. We call it UNON, UNON for short. But anyways, that's key. You want to make it 24 hours. So if you take that product properly, you're going to get a real nice, robust nitric oxide boost that you can generate even while you're sleeping.
Now it says on the label to do 1 scoop in the morning and 12 hours later to do another scoop. So customers have asked, will this keep me up at night? So, we're learning about this particular product. Of course, we've had citrulline and arginine products on the shelves for years, because a lot of bodybuilders have used them over the years. But in regard to your product, so would it energize somebody at night?
Sometimes, Claudia, it can. So, as we know, everybody's different how they respond to things, right?
Yes.
There is a small percentage of people that it does. It just jazzes them up. That gives them too much energy in the evening. I actually take it before bed. And most people find that their sleep patterns improve, because one of the benefits of arginine is that it also boosts human growth hormone. So that is the hormone that helps for restorative sleep. It's what helps to get your melatonin levels straight. And so actually for a lot of people, they have just super restful sleep. They wake up in the morning feeling much, much better. So you just have to let them try it. That one time they're going to know. And so we hate that for that one night where they're a little jazzed up, but at least they know. So for those people, they may need to say, you know what, I need to cut it off by a certain time of the day, early afternoon or whatever.
So they can take a scoop earlier in the day for that second scoop. It doesn't have to be 12 hours later, correct?
Correct. So we do want the 2 scoops a day. Ideally, as you mentioned, at least 1 scoop twice a day is ideal, 12 hours apart. But if for some reason, they have a situation like you're mentioning where they're just too too jazzed up. Get those 2 scoops in at the same time is okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it says you can take 2 in the morning with
Right.
8 ounces of water. Just mix it, and I know it has a nice smell to it.
Yeah, well, that one's
Oh,
this
that
one
one's
I
not
just
real
grabbed.
good.
This one is
here,
mine.
yeah, this
it's
one
open,
here,
so you can.
yeah, this one here. It smells like kind of like
Well,
grape or
it's
fruity.
berry,
I mean, it's
isn't
nice.
it? There's berry and there's citrus.
Smells
Correct?
nice.
Yeah,
That's right.
and it tastes
Yep.
good. I mean, this is a big thing. A lot of people, if something doesn't taste good, they're not gonna. Doesn't matter how good it is for them, they're not
It's
gonna
not
do
a
it. But
big
this is a great tasting product.
it's not a big thing, it's a huge thing. And those ingredients were not easily manipulated to taste good using all the natural things that we use, the flavorings and the natural sweeteners. But to your point, we get a lot of great feedback that it tastes very palatable. And it was important to do it in a powder because powders, when you mix them up in liquid into a liquid, the absorbability goes way up. The physician's desk reference says that you get a 95% absorption rate from a liquid as compared to capsules and tablets. Sometimes those are only 30% absorbed. Plus, we put a complex in there called estrogen, which is a herbal complex of astragalus and ginseng, which increases the absorption of those amino acids by over 67%. So we're putting it in a liquid, more absorbable. We're adding the estrogen because, as we know, it's not just you're not what you eat. You are what you absorb.
Exactly.
So we gotta make sure that people are getting the benefits of these ingredients.
Yes. So something that I'd like you to clarify, because I've had a couple people ask me this, and for years we have sold bacon and other meats, breakfast meats without nitrites, without nitrates. So when people get looking on the internet and they see information about nitric oxide, there's some sites that suggest eat these foods, they're rich in nitrates. So of course people are confused. So if you could address that, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. So we know for a fact you're not going to hear anybody say spinach is bad for you or beets are bad for you. Oh, don't eat your greens, they're bad for you.
Right.
You never hear that, right?
Right.
But all of those things they have naturally occurring nitrates. So we know nitrates can't be bad for you because they're in all these things that we know are so good for you. So the story is that these nitrates that are used as preservatives, what I consider really more synthetic nitrates as compared to these naturally occurring nitrates in foods. What they found is that it's the combination of these nitrates and meat protein, animal protein, that's the problem. It creates something called nitrosamines. And nitrosamines are free radical generators. And as we know about free radicals are what cause cancers and all these bad things to happen in our bodies. So that's the little key there. It's those what I consider synthetic nitrates and animal protein that you can be causing some problems.
And they use higher levels, correct? The nature is using.
True. Yeah.
They're adding higher levels to preserve meat and these different whatever breakfast foods.
Right. And you think about it, the other thing that is missing from those foods are antioxidants. So, the antioxidants could be helpful in keeping the nitrosamines from doing damage as well. So that way you're counteracting any of the free radicals that are being produced. So if none of in the worst case scenario, not that we're necessarily advocating this, but when you're consuming foods that do have or these preservative based foods, meats, at least take some vitamin C with them so that you can help to keep the free radicals down.
Yes. Even though we do encourage people, eat clean meat.
Right.
Right. You don't need to eat a bunch of bacon with a bunch of nitrates dumped on it.
100%.
Find a good product. We sell clean meat. So
there you go.
But thank you for defining that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, go ahead.
All right.
So this is you make a lozenge.
Yeah.
So tell us about the lozenge. How is it different from the powder?
So again, the powder is more it does have some beets in it, but it's really an arginine citrulline pathway product. That means it works within your cardiovascular system to boost nitric oxide. The arginine is converted by the nitric oxide synthase, which is an enzyme in your endothelium, and then nitric oxide as a result of that. The nitrate pathway is different. And the way the nitrate pathway works is, let's say you consume a plate full of arugula, which is very high in nitrates, or beets. Your body takes those nitrates that are in those foods, and your microbiome in your mouth then converts those into nitrites. And I know this is a lot of
Right.
big words, whatever, but just follow it a little bit.
Right.
It's really a cool thing that our body does. So then we swallow those nitrites, and it hits the stomach acid in our stomach, and then nitric oxide is produced in the digestive system. So arginine, citrulline within the cardiovascular system, nitrate-rich foods in the digestive system. So it's just a different pathway. I like boosting both pathways. So we have our real therapeutic ultimate nitric oxide nutrition powder, arginine citrulline based. And then we say you can use these beets as well along with it. So you're really boosting nitric oxide through multiple pathways. And it's not going to be too much for the body to deal with. It's all properly dosed and so on. So with each of those cherry tarts, we're calling them now a lozenge. We let them melt in the mouth. If you had a chance to try them, Claudia,
I did
you
at the
probably know how
show.
they taste. They
Yep,
taste great.
they do.
Even people that don't like beets, they can use them. And so there's one whole beet's worth of nitrates in every cherry tart. And we call them cherry
Wow.
tarts because they're cherry flavored, naturally cherry flavored.
Yes.
And so, that's a great way to get your beets in addition. So they can be used separately if people just, they like the convenience of the cherry tart. It's something they can use. And we changed the packaging on that as well from what you showed there. It's called Ultimate Beetroot Energy. And again, there's nothing stimulating in it like a caffeine or anything, but the energy
Right.
comes from the nitric oxide boost that people get from it. So they can be used individually, they can be used together. It's just another pathway to
Okay.
use, to boost nitric oxide.
So
Very
would
good.
you take them together or in tandem, or is it one or the other?
You could do it like that, Denny. You could, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll drink my powder, my ultimate nitric oxide nutrition, and then I'll do a cherry tart chaser. So I'm boosting, both pathways, behind each other. That's a
Right.
great way to do it. Or sometimes in the afternoon, I'll just grab one of those cherry tarts, beet cherry tarts, and consume that. You just let it kind of melt in your mouth, and it's the best way to let it dissolve there.
Well, I'll tell you, we've had great feedback from this. And it's not just that people are saying, oh, it tastes good. They're getting the results. And what's amazing is how quickly they're getting results. So it's a wonderful product you've made. I just also wanted to show for the powder, you've made the individual little sticks that, or whatever they are, the little packets. A lot of people are coming in now. They want to take them with them to work, to school, whatever. So the last thing I'd like to ask you in regard to any kind of contraindication with any meds, any heart meds or statins or high blood pressure, whatever it might be, is this, how does that work?
There's really no contraindications for taking this. Of course, we encourage anybody that's under a doctor's care to go to their practitioners and ask that very question. Not necessarily is this product good for me, because they may just automatically say, well, I don't know about it. So the answer is
Right,
no.
right,
Really, as a medical doctor advised me, and I heard her say, she said, the best thing to do is go to the doctor and ask, would this be a contraindication for me? Because that way it'll make them look at the ingredient deck, maybe do a little research on it, and then they can make a valid response based on what they found in the research. That being said, there's
yes,
a few things that we encourage people to do. If they're taking a blood pressure medication, then just as Amy brought out earlier, and we appreciate that, Amy, keep shouting the message. But you know, if they're taking a medication and they're doing things in a natural way to create a healthy blood pressure, and now they take these synthetic things that are made to just force your body to lower your blood pressure, the blood pressure may go too low, right?
Right.
So we just encourage people to monitor their blood pressure. If they're getting good results, then go back to their doctors and ask them if they might be able to reduce the medications and how appropriately they would do that. Again, as you brought out in the beginning, we don't make any health claims. We don't tell people what to do. We don't make any recommendations as far as pharmaceuticals are concerned, but that's a way they can handle that. The other thing is,
Yes.
if they're on a blood thinner, continue to have your proton check, or however your doctor is checking your blood viscosity, because nitric oxide, we don't call it really a blood thinner per se, but it definitely goes and breaks up clumping in the blood. Nitric oxide does. So it helps to even out your blood flow and gets things to unstick, which is a good thing. So that would be the only two things that we would just encourage. And of course, always work with your medical doctor as far as your pharmaceuticals are concerned.
All right, I have a question. It says here in the packet that you mix it with 6 ounces of water. Now, convenience, everybody has a water bottle. You'll grab a water bottle and, take it to work. This would be really convenient to put it in there, but it says only 6 ounces of water. Why just 6 ounces? Am I going to not get the same effect if it's a 12-ounce water bottle?
Yeah, Danny, it's not critical as far as the amount of the water. That's really based on, taste preferences. Some
Okay.
people like it a little weaker. Some people like it a little stronger. To your point, if I'm out and about and I'll grab a stick pack, and if I have a bottle of water, whatever size it is, doesn't matter. I'll put my stick pack in there and mix it up. And it could be 16, 24 ounces of water, whatever. So it's obviously, it tastes a little more diluted, but the effects are
Exactly the same. And it doesn't, you don't want to take it with food though, right? You want to take it at least an hour away from food.
Correct. So primarily it's your proteins and your amino acids that you want to avoid, because it's 2 amino acids out of the 20 or so amino acids that we need. We're isolating those 2 to really focus on the nitric oxide boost. So we don't want to mix it. Now, some people, they've mixed it with the protein shakes and they say they get great results, and they probably are. It's just that through our research, we have found that it's better to keep it away from proteins and amino acids, ideally. So some other things you could eat them with are okay, like fats or carbohydrates are okay. But just for the sake of clarity, we just say, hey, just stay away from foods altogether, ideally for at least 20 minutes. An hour would be better.
20. All right. His website is bionoxusa.com, bionoxusa.com. All these products, of course, available at Claudia. So stop in, see Claudia. Anything else you want to mention, Jay, before we get going and we wind this up?
Man, I don't know. You guys have asked all the tough questions today, and it's been a pleasure. I think really the main message I would want to close with, you know, our tagline is high performance health, and it's because we just want to help people wherever they are. I came into this really to help people with chronic critical health issues and have seen phenomenal results. But what we're seeing is that our audience base, they really consider themselves to be active. Yes, they're 50 plus crowd, most of them, but we have a lot of young people as well using this for better athletic performance. So the idea is, if you're having any sort of health issues, particularly if you're 40 and older, you really need to look at seeing what nitric oxide boosting can do for you. At the same time, if you're looking for an edge in your athletic performance or your workouts or your weekend warriorship, then I would definitely look at this as well. All of our products come with a 100% money back guarantee. Somebody comes back to Claudia and said, "Hey, I didn't like this product," then I'm gonna recommend that they give them their money back, and we'll take care of Claudia on the other side. So we stand behind what we do. We want people to try it and fall in love with it. And over the past, since 2005, that's how many years? I can't even do the math. At 18, something like that. So we just got tons and tons of feedback as to what this is done for people.
Well, we really appreciate the work you're doing, and thank you for bringing this great product to the stores. So thank you for what you're doing, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the show.
Yeah, July 22 or something like that, to 24 or some in that neighborhood.
And maybe
So,
Denny
yeah,
will be with
definitely.
us.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Come
Jay,
see us,
How
Denny.
courageous he is.
Yeah, we'll see.
Jay, thank you so much. Have a wonderful
Thanks,
day. Many
guys.
blessings to you.
Appreciate it very much. You guys have a great day.
you.
Keep up the good
Take
work.
care. It's funny. You and I, you always bring the guests and the topic, and I'm like, okay, how much more is there? And I had no idea this existed, and how important it is to have nitric oxide, a healthy, vascular system, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And it's just another tool we can put in our toolbox.
Yes.
To help us to live better and stay away from pharmaceuticals at all costs.
Well, I think it's fair to say more people are understanding. There's a whole world of knowledge that has been suppressed from the American public. And it's a sad thing. It was done to promote pharmaceuticals. And we're starting to see more and more on a regular basis. We have people coming in, they don't have high blood pressure. They're being put on, I just had a woman yesterday, no high blood pressure. She was put on high blood pressure meds. We have people coming in, they don't have blood sugar issues. They're being put on blood sugar meds to be, preventive. We're seeing all these things, and it's very, very sad, because at the end of the day, and a lot of people in our industry will say this, when the body is expressing an imbalance, it's not because it has a deficiency of a pharmaceutical.
Right. Because your body doesn't produce pharmaceuticals.
Exactly. What it's asking for are these beautiful, natural, natural produced nutrients. And there's a world of them. Wait to see all the different products we're going to bring on the people. And there's so much knowledge to embrace. So I honor everybody in this country that is honoring their health, understanding that Nature's Pharmacy is magnificent. They want to learn. And you and I were talking about this before we got on the air. People are thirsty.
They are
thirsty to learn about natural health. They want to reclaim their health safely without being dependent on products that are causing all kinds of side effects. So it's a beautiful thing.
If you know somebody who might be struggling with some of these issues, that's why it's important to share the podcast. So please do that. I'll put it into an audio podcast by Monday. So if you missed this, that one's also easier to send out. All right, Claudia.
And we're on Spotify now, and
we're on everywhere
platforms now. So thank you everyone for helping us get there, and
we do appreciate that.
We do appreciate it.
And like always, Claudia, I'm going to give you the last word.
Well, I just want to say how much I'm grateful that we do this together.
Me too.
Yeah, thank you. And to all, to everyone tuning in that are wrapping your heart around your own health, it's a beautiful thing. It can change this country. If more people get on board, we will see a positive change occur. So keep learning, keep embracing, support others to do the same. Of course, we all know an individual has to be ready to embrace their own health, but we can lovingly be the example of what the possibilities and the potential of embracing our own health can become. So keep the faith, shine your love, shine your light, put it out there, help bring yourselves up and everybody else. The world needs a good uplift. So many blessings to all of you. And as always, peace.